Tortured Poets, old listeners and new listeners. Welcome. Happy winter break. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your winter break like I am. And if you're not on winter break, I am so sorry. Um, Welcome to episode 5 of the Tortured Poets podcast. I'm your host, Amber Lopez, and tonight, we'll be discussing Publishing 101. And wow, I am actually so excited for this episode because I have gotten so many requests about this specific topic. I've had several of you actually reach out to me as to how to publish, why do I publish, why am I an author, or what my writing journey looks like, and this is what this episode is. We're going to talk about all of those lovely things, and I'm actually excited to sort of share that journey with you guys. So let's begin. I don't really want to ramble that much because this is actually such an important topic. And it's a beautiful thing that I have the opportunity to sort of spread the word how you can publish and get your craft out there to not only do yourself this this service, but others by reading your words and understanding your voice and seeing you be so vulnerable and show that vulnerability is a strength. So this is actually so exciting for me to see you guys and what your craft might look like, whether it's publishing a fiction story or poems, um, whatever the case might be. Again, it's incredibly rewarding for me to be sharing this information with you guys because I know when I began my publishing journey, whenever I did reach out to people regarding this or asking how to and why, I never got an answer back, and I thought it was incredibly rude. So, unlike those people, I don't want to be that way. um, like I said, it's very rewarding, and thank you guys for asking these questions because it makes me really excited and happy to be here. So without further ado, we'll just sort of dive into it. Well, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do this. So, I will begin by talking about my journey and what sort of inspired me to begin writing. Then I'm going to discuss my books and what those writing journeys look like and sort of how I got to those specific themes. Then I'm going to talk about the self-publishing websites and y'all want to get a notebook out for that if you're planning on writing or if you're just listening for shits and giggles, then you don't have to have a notebook, whatever that case might be. Um, so I'm going to talk about self-publishing websites. Then I'm sort of going to talk about how you can promote yourself. And in the end, I'm just going to give some advice for y'all. Anyone who's again intending to become an author and trying to make this a career, or just doing this on the side like me, but you're hoping to make this a career. um, so before we begin and dive into all those wonderful subtopics, I will say I am not a professional. this is this is the sort of what my journey looked like as this is the sort of what my journey has looked like for this past year and as a amateur writer, for lack of a better term. Um, so those of you who are also amateur writers and just sort of have wonderful poems or projects just sitting on the side, manuscripts, then this is good for you if you want to share it with the world. For me, I sort of just began this because I thought it would be a disservice to myself if I didn't share this. So, again, this is very unprofessional. This is just my experience thus far, and I am happy to share with you guys. So, our first subtopic, let's talk about my journey and what sort of inspired me to write. So, what did inspire me? I will begin by giving a little background about myself. Um, as of beginning my college experience, yes, we'll begin with that. um, I went to a community college and homegirl had no idea what direction she wanted to head in for a career. Yes, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I was, for some reason, growing up, I was good at biology. I don't know why. And I was like, okay, maybe I could do something with money. No, I didn't want to do something for the money, but I just decided to sort of, okay, well, let's see what options are out there. Again, this was community college. I didn't know what I wanted to do. It was until I was in my English class and my English professor was so inspiring and I felt reconnected with the love I had for English and I sort of learned this is something I've loved the whole time. I just didn't know I could make a career out of it. Um, so I was reflecting on that moment that wow, I've been writing in a journal since I was 14 years old. And again, this is when I learned wow, I really do love English and English literature because also I've always read a lot. I almost got held back a grade in second grade because I wasn't well comprehensive when it came to reading and I was behind a level. But because I was behind a level, that sort of motivated me to start picking up more books than normal kids would. And I was motivated to surpass them. So that's sort of my that's sort of what led me to okay, this is something I want to pursue. So community college I got my associate's degree in English for transfer. Then I went to my university, my four-year institution, that's when I got my bachelor's degree in English education because I knew I wanted to teach it. Um, Again, I'm doing writing on the side, so the initial goal is to become an English professor because your girl, she loves talking about books and literature and all morale fun stories that you could learn from literature. Anyhow, so that's sort of the main goal. Again, writing on the side. And that's what I got my bachelor's degree last year um, in English education. And during that time, I took lots of literature courses, which were amazing, and lots of educational courses to teach me about my own pedagogical skills. And now, after I took a year gap, I am currently working on my graduate degree in specifically English literature. So all my courses are pretty much literature based, well, the foundation of literature. And I feel like during that gap year when I decided to write a book, that is when the author career sort of took off. So that's that's the educational journey about my love for writing and interest in writing and reading. But on a personal note, I got inspired by Rupi Kaur, who was the author of Milk and Honey and The Sun and Her Flowers. And there's another author named Whitney Hansen who wrote Home, who wrote Climate, and who wrote Harmony. So the last poet that also inspired me was Courtney Peppernell. She wrote, what was the title of it? Oh, there's one of her recent books is called A Month of Sundays, and the cover has like a little jellyfish on it, and it's really cute, and it's like she has a bunch of black covers with all this cutesy art. Anyways, Courtney Peppernell, Rupi Kaur, Winnie Hansen. These poets have inspired me. I've read them since I was around 15, 16 years old. That's when I began really reading poetry. Again, I wrote since I was 14, but I began diving into poetry around 15, 16. Those were the first poets that I got into. Specifically, Rupi Kaur. Her and Courtney Peppernell. Those two I really dove into. Um, so after reading their books, I and being a book lover, I wanted to begin writing poetry, and I did. I started accumulating poems since I was 17. Anytime I had an emotion or a thought, I just put them in my notes app, and that was sort of my way of exploring my own emotions, navigating them. That was really my coping mechanism whenever I was upset or sad or happy and or frustrated or in love and life is all harmony and great and peaceful. Whatever the emotion was, and I felt like I wanted to capture that moment. I began again. I sort of began writing poetry, whether it was free verse, whether it was in a sonnet, haiku. You know how it goes. um, that's when that journey began, around 17, 18 years old. So, with that in mind, I never really thought of writing a book. I never thought about publishing. Um, I just, I guess during my gap year last year, I think that's when I really thought about it. And I saw people my age just like publishing books here and there. And I was like, oh my gosh, you know what? Like, I love writing books. I have all of sort of a manuscript in my notes app. You know what? Why don't I try giving this a jab? I've reached out to several other authors my age, and they never reached out back to me, and they're sort of like gatekeeping publishing, and it was upsetting because I was like, wow, like I would love to carry my own words in a book and like be able to inspire others who feel the exact same way I do, who can resonate with my own words as well. And I'm not crazy, but these people would gatekeep, like gatekeep publishing, and they wouldn't want to tell me like how they could publish their own works or how I could publish my own works, and that it was upsetting. So during my gap year, again, that's when I decided to mix passion with career. So I decided, I'm since I have a year gap year and from school, I'm going to take this time to do myself this this service of attempting to publish a book. And that's when, long behold, Around the Sun came out in December 2023. And those of you who don't know my books, I have two of them. So now we're diving into this next subtopic, my books. My first book was published December 2023, and it was called Around the Sun. And I sort of went for a minimalistic look regarding the cover because I had no idea what direction I wanted to head in. I wanted the next one. I knew I went in the intention of wanting the next one to sort of match the cover of the first one, to sort of be like Rupi Kaur's Milk and Honey, The Sun and Her Flowers. So I low key copied that. not not to be not to discredit her, but she definitely inspired these covers. And same with Winnie Hansen. Whitney Hanson's covers of Harmony and Home, they're both a face. So I was like, I'm gonna do a face on the front of my covers too. So I mixed both of those authors' creative covers and sort of copied them and meshed them into one thing. Um, so that's where the covers came from. I went with the intention, okay, you could buy them as a pair. So book one, I didn't create a new manuscript. I had this manuscript. Again, I made this manuscript since I was 17, 18 years old. And I ordered them to my liking. So my first intention was, okay, how can I format this nicely? Let me order this to make sense. And that's what I did. Again, I began making this a book because I wanted others to resonate with me. I wanted to inspire others, and I wanted to share my words and be. It's always, I feel like always a reader's dream, low key, to be an author too. So that was another reason. Anyways, so once I created my manuscript on a Word document using poems that I created throughout the years, I ordered them to my liking. I decided on a theme, decided on a title, and the common theme and pattern that I saw was a lot of my poems were dedicated to people I loved and cared about. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to make sections. I'm going to do that. And I didn't want to create a title super complex. I wanted to be super easy. So I just thought of the cute saying that people say when it's their birthday, like, oh, 1 year around the sun. I was like, oh, okay, around the sun. Like, throughout the year, you experience and grow and become in various types of ways. So I was like, you know what? We're going to stick with that because the people that I have these experiences with, they have caused me to grow and sort of expand my experience in various ways. Whether it was harsh or in the most loving ways. So that's sort of what the theme and title was. And obviously, there's seasons during a year, so each chapter is dedicated to a season. And once I sort of got that, all the housekeeping taken care of, that's when the hard part came up. And that was doing my own research on self publishing websites. So I had to look up what was most reliable or what was free. And I also had to look up what am I capable of doing. I have to be realistic with myself. I've never done measurements for the gutter, for the spine, for the actual book itself, the page count. If you don't know the specific page count, you have to have the specific measurements of the inside, like the margins, they have to be like 0.075 inches if it's 5.06 by 7 inches. Again, it's very specific. And again, I just have to be very realistic with myself. Is this something I could do? Or am I going to need help? And if I am going to need help, there's the power of YouTube. um, so I did a lot of research on these self publishing websites. I had to see which ones were legitimate and which ones would allow me to view my books and view my manuscripts and make it not look stupid. Make sure the formatting was okay. Again, I had no idea. I had no idea what I was doing this entire time. So, um, once I did finally find the glorious self-publishing websites I wanted to use, which we're going to discuss later, I finally submitted my work onto these self-publishing websites to get approved because yes, they have to review it, make sure everything's nice and tidy and clean and doesn't look ridiculous, and then get approved and then finally be published. So, again, published all long behold, it last December, Around the Sun came out. And those of you who don't know, the description is Around the Sun is a collection of poems that strive to teach ourselves to embrace the journey of emotions through all seasons of the year. This book is divided into 4 chapters, and each chapter captures a different purpose involving different emotions for each season we live through. So that was my first book journey. The second one was done with much more intention. It was released this year, actually, 2 months ago. It was released October 2024. And this one was done with intention because at this point now I know I want to be an author. Now I know I want this to sort of be my side hustle. Like I want to do this for fun. I want to keep inspiring others because so many people reached out to me regarding the first book, telling me they loved it, telling me they really connected with a few of the poems that I wrote. And honestly, looking back at it again, I was 17, 18, I or 19, whatever the years were that I accumulated all those poems from the first book. I'm looking back at it, I don't think they're the best poems I've ever written. I don't think they're like Ruby Kerr's level of writing. I think they're decent. I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh my gosh, why would you think that? But I think it's very normal to be your own self-critic, and that's me. It was my first book. The formatting was a little funky, but don't worry, I came out with additions for a reason recently to fix that formatting and sort of add more poems based on the experiences I now do have. But anyways, book two. Again, this one was done with intention. I started writing my manuscript in February 2024, and the intention and theme in mind of this, because I saw this being a common pattern, was people seeking validation through others. Whether it was a boy, of course, whether it was a boy or whether it was um, a couple friends, or whether it was people in class or at work, whatever validation you might need through others, I saw it was a very common pattern. And I think it's I mean, it's normal, but it's ridiculous, right? I think self-love is a very important aspect in life because once you have all that self-love, then everything else falls into place. If you have peace in your heart, then you'll have peace in your life. And it's just simple as that. That's what I believe. So that was sort of the vision I wanted to go with. And the title, To the Moon, everyone always says, "Oh my gosh, I love my partner, or I love my coworkers, I love my friends to the moon and back." And yeah, that's great, but do you love yourself to the moon and back? And again, that was the what can I say? The message I wanted to go into that second book with. Learn to love yourself to the moon and back. You would go through all of hell for this other person or people, but you won't do that for yourself? How sad. Like, you deserve love. You deserve to love yourself. You're great. Um, so I sort of went through the same process. I submitted my work onto the previous self-publishing website that I have used before. And it was much easier than the first time I submitted my work because I already knew what that process looked like. I already knew what the margins, the gutter, the spine. I already knew all these things this time around, so it was a lot easier than the first time. It didn't take me like a month and a half to figure all that out. No, if anything, this took me like 3 to 4 days instead because again, I already knew all this. Second book, and I'm sure with you guys, the second book is gonna be a lot more easier to figure out formatting. But writing the whole manuscript process is so much fun. And it's so much easier when you have a specific theme in mind because you just keep going back to that theme. Again, in my one of my podcast episodes, Tackling Writer's Block, having a common theme or message in mind, that's going to remind you, what do I want to keep telling my readers? What's how am I going to write this scene? How am I going to write this next poem? Oh wait, I know. Let me just take a look at my message. Let me just take a look at what message I want to convey to everyone else. Oh, that. Okay, let me think about a scene where I could incorporate that. Let me think about a poem where I could incorporate that. Make it super obvious, right? So the manuscript process is a ton of fun. It's a ton of fun. Um, it's just sort of the formatting that's tricky and the grammatical mechanics that you have to look over. Anyhow, the description I came out with for To the Moon is: To the Moon, this collection of poems creates conversation on how people frequently invest so much of their love into another person that they forget to invest time into someone more important, themselves. This book is divided into 3 chapters, and each chapter elaborates on the journey of a relationship as one learns a valuable lesson of prioritizing themselves first. So, again, this was the message I wanted to convey in my second book. It was a lot easier to articulate because, again, this was just sort of a common pattern I saw frequently, even with myself in past, not relationships, because I've only been in one, but sort of past interactions with other people. When I was during the talking stages, I don't know, whatever you want to call that, whatever people call it these days. Um, so each book experience as you're writing, I'm going to tell you now, it's going to look a lot different. You think it'll go smoothly, but no, one thing or another is going to go wrong. And for me, what went wrong with the second book was a cover. Um, yes, I know. I said, okay, I wanted them to be a pair around the sun and to the moon, sort of like Rupi Kaur, people buy them together. Yeah, so I wanted that, but those of you who don't follow me on Instagram, on my poetry page at Amber Lopez Poetry, I I wanted my own voice. I wanted my own covers. I wanted my own look. And I discovered this look, quote unquote. I discovered this look in October. No, I lied. I discovered this look in September. Yes. um, and I was like, wow, this looks really nice. I like this individuality I have with this book To the Moon. but I already told everyone I have this other cover, the one with the face on it and the moon. So I was like, oh man, I can't do that. I can't just change the cover. Like everyone's already looking forward to this other one to buy to go with their first one, Around the Sun. But I was like, oh man, what am I gonna do? So that's when I came out with the To the Moon Collector's Edition. And I came out with that edition because I knew I wanted that to be individual. I wanted to add acknowledgments, and I I wanted the additional poems that I threw in there. And the reason I added additional poems was because I didn't come up with those poems at the time. When I submitted my manuscript, I thought I was done, but ideas come up and you actually just end up adding those poems um, on a whim. And they didn't go with my next book theme because it's it just doesn't go. That's not the theme I want. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna come up with additional poems, and I'm gonna come out with an edition so people could actually see the individual look and the individuality and my style and my work. Um, so I was super excited with the To the Moon Collector's Edition, and it seemed like other people were too. Then I came out with an Around the Sun 1 year edition, also having acknowledgments, also having a unique cover, and also having 20 additional poems. And again, reason being, just ideas came up. I didn't think of those ideas at the time, and I wanted those poems to be in there. And regarding the cover, again, I finally have found my own style. It wasn't like Ruby Kerr or Whitney Hansen. I want it to be my own look. So when people look at that certain formatting, they're going to think of me as an author. So that's sort of my journey with those two books. I'm sure y'all are tired of hearing that, as as fascinating as it might be to you. So every book you have, every book you start, it's not going to go the way you expect it to be, and that's okay. That's what makes it so much fun. It's part of the writing process. It's we're here. We're here to have fun. We're doing this for ourselves ultimately, and life is so unserious. So that was what my book journey looked like. So the next subtopic, what you all been waiting for, is the self-publishing websites that I've used. And again, I've done my research on these, and I just want to see which ones were legitimate, which ones would work out. Everyone's different. Everyone prefers a, I don't know, everyone's process looks different. And I think offering these different self publishing websites can allow you guys to sort of write what you're most comfortable with, if that makes sense. So those of you who don't know, a self-publishing website is an online platform that allows authors to publish and distribute their works directly to readers without going through a traditional publishing house. Why haven't I done a traditional publishing house? I have, but it takes months and months and possibly years for a publishing house to notice you because believe it or not, there's actually a crap ton of authors out there, a crap ton of writers out there who are just as creative as you are and want to get their word out there, words out in the wonderful wizarding world, and they want to share their work just like you do. So I've submitted my my works to the bigger publishing houses, but have I heard anything? No, because like I said, there is plenty of writers out there, plenty of authors out there. So we will see. I obviously when that happens, I will share with y'all. But as of right now, we're sticking to our little self-publishing websites, and that's okay. I feel great. Other people could see my work, and I could see that it's published, and that's all that I need to feel fulfilled as of right now. um, so let's get on with it. The first publishing website that I recommend is called KDP Publishing. It is called actually KDP is an acronym for Kindle Direct Publishing. And what that is, it's a free publishing website where the author has full rights of their work. It's direct access to their books from Amazon. You're able to track your sales, and the best part that I liked, it offered videos how to format your books. And yes, it was a pain in the butt to watch all those every single video to help me, but it was completely worth it because in the end, the formatting now, not the first version of Around the Sun, the formatting now of my first book is much more cleaner. She has a heading, she has a footer, the page numbers are in order, etc., etc. It's much more nicer to look at, and I have cream colored pages now. So again, it was a pain in the butt to go through each step with KDP Publishing, but I liked that they had the videos in order. So it would be like step one, your manuscript, step two, I don't know, formatting. I don't remember the exact order it went in, but it was really nice to have those videos and not me having to actually manually go on YouTube to look up each of these specific things. No. Um, the videos were on the website and they called it KDP University or something like that, and it just taught you how to, again, how to format your book, how to publish your book. So again, no upfront costs, so you don't have to pay any fees or any inventory orders that are required. You have full rights as the author, so you retain full rights of the books, and it's not typical with traditional publishing houses, so that's a nice perk. You have lots of control of your books, which is the content, your design, your price, your audience, your advertising. And the best part, you can earn up to 70% of royalty. So again, it really depends on pricing, and I sort of just went with what they recommended me. On the bottom, it says minimum this, maximum this. So I think that was very helpful because I don't want to overcharge people. I'm not going to charge people $40 for my book. Like, I know my value, but y'all, I mean, don't charge 40. Please don't overcharge your readers. They're gonna hate you. You want them to love you. So, um, yeah. It again, it's a quick process. It takes less than 5 minutes, but for the global reach, for it to be published on the Amazon stores and Amazon stores around the world, takes around 72 hours. So this was actually a problem I have had with both of my books. I would say, oh, everyone, December 5th, the book is coming out, or October 10th, the book is coming out. And what was ridiculous that I forgot, because I thought things would run smoothly and I was wrong, um, it would take an additional 72 hours. And if there was one small mistake, which is nice, they send you an email back. Hey, this is what you need to fix. We notice your margins aren't nice. Fix that. And then republish it. And then once you press republish, once you fix that mistake, it'll take 72 hours to find that mistake. Not 72 hours exactly, but it's giving you an estimate, like, oh, 2 to 3 days to fix this. So KDP Publishing, Kindle Direct Publishing. Do with that information what you will. I hope you're excited diving into these publishing websites. So let's move into publishing website number 2, the Barnes & Noble Press. So, one moment. Okay, that is also free publishing. Um, and the websites I'm listing right now, these are all free publishing websites. So Barnes & Noble Press, it's a free publishing website where authors can also earn up to 70% of royalties. And this helps with formatting. You can use the website to publish on other platforms. You get to appear on the Barnes & Noble website, and you track sales. And this I really liked. I didn't do it with my first poem book, but I did do this with my second poem books, To the Moon and To the Moon Collector's Edition, because with the Barnes & Noble Press, I know that again, it's always my dream to appear on the Barnes & Noble shelves, and I'm sure it's y'all's too. Um, but for me personally, I would love to appear on a Barnes & Noble bookshelf. That being the holy grail of books around the world, bookstores around the world. I'm sure there's other really good ones that I don't know about, but for me, I've always gone to Barnes and Noble growing up, and it was always just such a magical thing to see the shelves and walk amongst them and see amazing authors. So, of course, I want to be amongst those amazing authors. So to have my book published on the Barnes and Noble website, and people to see it and order it online, it's close. It's close to the real thing. So it's pretty much the same thing as KDP, except the formatting of the page, it just looks a little bit different. I don't think it's in order. They don't have a KDP University, like they don't have a BNN Barnes and Noble University, Barnes and Noble Press University for you how to publish. Um, I think from my experience, you just submit what you have, and then once you submit what you have, immediately you get a notification saying this is wrong, or the gutter's too big, or the letters are too small. Like immediately. That's from my experience at least. And I think it is super nice. You do get 70% of royalties as well. Regarding pricing, they don't tell you what the minimum and maximum is. I think you just submit whatever you want. And again, please don't charge $40 to $50 for a book, especially a poem book. Like this, please don't do that. Um, so that I think that could be a problem. I think Barnes and Noble Press could do that better, like giving you price suggestions. Um, but it is nice. You do have full rights to your own book, and you are able to see, like, track what orders you have gotten, or track who has bought your book. Um, so it's also a self-publishing platform. You can reach plenty of readers on barnesandnoble.com and even Nook devices, and you get to publish books for personal use. Um, so that's sort of what Barnes Noble Press looks like. Again, I didn't do that with my first poem book. I did that with the original To the Moon and the To the Moon Collector's Edition. So I hope you're able to have options. What I also think is cool, a little perk of using Barnes and Noble Press, is that once you're on the website, there's a possibility of you being able to have a local author event. Yeah, that's incredible, isn't it? Isn't it? And I haven't had a local author event yet because here's the catch, your book has to be refundable. So once you publish with Barnes and Noble Press, yes, your book gets to appear on their website, which is super nice. Yes, you could possibly have a local author event, which is also really nice, and be shelved at your local Barnes and Noble. But you have to be refundable because these books, your books, if they're online, they'll be this what's called print on demand. So that means people will actually have to go to the front desk if they're in person and ask for that book, or print on demand online. They order online and it has to print. So they're not going to have hundreds of your book in stock wherever their warehouses might be. Um, if anything, they're just going to print your books whenever someone orders it. So that's sort of the downside. But if your book is refundable, and don't ask me how do I make it refundable because I don't know myself. I think it just has to be up for a certain amount of time. Again, I have no idea. I tried people. When I do find out, I will let you know. Um, but it has to be refundable in order for you to have that local author event or be shelved and in the local author section. So that's the catch. But regardless, again, you appear on the Barnes and Noble website. You get to sort of be on the website with other famous authors, and yeah, you get your name out there in another way besides just Amazon. You have your name on multiple websites. So for me, I did it because I think that's a perk. Just having my name on multiple websites and being able to purchase my book on multiple websites. And last self-publishing website is called Apple Books. And this isn't really a normal manuscript formatting where you'll be able to share your books. Um, it's It's a free publishing website to allow authors to share their books in an audiobook format, an ebook format, and same thing to KDP Publishing and Barnes& and Noble Press. You earn up to 70% of royalties. So I haven't personally touched Apple Books yet. This is just something I found in my research. But if you're writing a fiction, writing a novel, novella, whatever that might look like, this could be fun for you. You could have multiple people voicing your books for characters. I think that'd be really cool, to publish this in an audiobook format. And if you are interested in publishing an ebook format, Apple Books is also the one for you because that means people could have access on their little Kindle to read your book and not have to buy the physical thing if they don't want to. Me personally, I like keeping it the paperback format because I feel like that's more intimate. Um, and I can't think of another reason, so we're just going to move on now. Those are your self publishing websites: KDP Publishing, aka Kindle Direct Publishing, Barnes& and Noble Press, and Apple Books. I'm sorry I didn't have a lot to say about Apple Books, but again, I have had no experience with that. So if you want to dive more into that, I recommend maybe Googling it and just seeing what it's all about. But that is more audiobook and ebook format. So I know we're kind of I'm kind of rambling a lot, and I hope this information has been useful to you so far. But I am gonna I sort of want to gloss over this one idea, talking about social media and talking about promoting yourself. So because I want y'all to succeed, social media, it's a tool for self-published authors offering direct access to readers, and it's a great it's a great cost-effective marketing opportunity for you guys. So I have Instagram and TikTok to allow myself to build my own personal brand and sort of share like the quote unquote behind the scenes content, connecting with readers and writers. So again, this is just sort of a little sub point before I wrap up this episode, but I do recommend having social media so you can share updates about your writing process and post your book and run promotional posts promoting your work. Um, I think it really depends on who you are as an author. Me personally, I do want to make this, if I can, I would love to do this full time. I would love for this to be my full time career, just to be an author and a publisher and a spoken poet. I think that'd be so much fun. So if you want to do that and maybe allow big publishing houses to find you, I would recommend social media because I have seen it before. I've seen other authors like me have around 5,000 to 6,000 followers, and suddenly, maybe like 1 or 2 years later, they're with a big publishing house, and now they're at like 10 to 20K followers, and now they're at multiple Barnes and Noble stores. So fingers crossed, we're manifesting that for me, and I'm manifesting that for you too. And if you want to make that possible, I do recommend having social media. Yes, it's a little scary, but again, if you want this to be possibly a full-time career, that's the best way to promote your poem books. And having this business page, you could connect with other authors and bookstores. And that's how I got that's how I did a consignment with the Underdog bookstore in Monrovia. We connected through social media, and that's how I'm also doing a consignment with the Romans bookstore, connected through social media, allow them to take a look at my page. So again, if this is something that you do want to take a little bit more seriously, I recommend social media. And the last thing before I let you lovely people go, I will leave you with this last sub point, which is advice. My advice for you, my actual my unprofessional advice for you, if you care for it. If not, good night. um, my unprofessional advice for you: if you have an idea, start writing. Just start. Don't make edits as you go, and just start. Just focus on manifesting your creativity onto a physical document. Um, and by that I mean make contact with the paper. Get a pen and paper out. Don't type. And once you begin, it's easy to just keep going, and it's rewarding to see the work of we'll see your work progress into something that could be greater. So that's my first advice. If you have an idea, just start. Because you're going to keep saying, I'm not ready or I don't know. Trust me, you're never ready. That's the truth. No matter what it is, you're never ready. Just start. Just begin. Another thing to keep in mind is having the right mindset. If you're doing this primarily to make money, I don't think you're starting on the right foot. And I know I said I want to make this a career, but I think you're most successful when you're just doing this for yourself. When you're doing this with like knowing that it'd be a disservice to yourself if you don't let your work out there. And I will be honest with you guys, it is very difficult to get recognition as a self-published author, and it is very easy to give up. Do this for you. Share your work with the world for you. Like, what is something that you haven't seen on the shelves yet and you would like to? Or what is something you'd want to inspire people with? Even if it's just one person. What unique message can you share with everyone? Or maybe a very few people? Again, you're doing this for yourself. You don't need a big audience. For me, if there's one person I can inspire out there, then I am so happy. Then that is honestly so rewarding that people could actually look to me, someone who is figuring out their own shit. It's very inspiring to be able to have someone come up to me and say that I've inspired them, and it's very rewarding, and it just sort of reminds me why I'm doing this and what the purpose of life is. Like it gets really deep. Um, I think having the right mindset could go a long way with whatever career you might have. So again, just do it for you. Share your work with a few people, share your work with the world, and make a difference. You deserve to. And lastly, enjoy the journey. Your craft is a deeply rewarding experience. I'm sure it's really rewarding for you once you're writing or reading or painting. It's a deeply rewarding experience because it provides a meaningful escape for you from daily stress while fostering personal growth and creativity. So, while you're on your writing journey, this offers you opportunities to connect with like minded people and build friendships and community that share this interest. And ultimately, for me, it boosts my confidence and my own self esteem through these simple achievements, through being shelved in local bookstores, through creating a podcast like this. So it's, again, just enjoy the journey. It's been a fun journey for me. Um, I feel like it provides a healthy work life balance and it's a really great emotional outlet. So, again, that's sort of the advice I have for y'all. And I hope that this has been helpful for you guys. Thank you for taking the time to tune in with me this evening. It was fun to share my thoughts about the publishing journey and publishing, self-publishing, and how to go about that. So I know you've enjoyed your time. I enjoyed my time. And next episode, episode 6, will be about. Let me pull that up for you guys. Episode 6 will be about tips and tricks to begin. So that sounds like fun, and hopefully it could help you begin your book now that you know how to publish. So, um, I hope you guys, again, at long last, enjoyed this episode, and stay safe. Enjoy your winter break, or not. Maybe on the weekends you could begin writing, maybe on weekdays you could begin writing, and I will see y'all next episode.